Testament of Mrs. Mary O'Connell, née Byrne, respecting the apparition at Knock Church, County Mayo, on the 21st of August 1879.
This is the official statement of Dominic Byrne, my grandfather.
This is the testimony of Catherine Murray.
Patrick Walsh. I remember well the 21st of August, 1879. It was a very dark night, and 'twas raining heavily.
About 8 o'clock on the evening, accompanied by a woman named Mary McLaughlin, I left my mother's house to lock the church door. We had not travelled very far when I asked, when did he, meaning the Archdeacon, get the new statues? She answered, I did not hear him say anything about them. We were then about a distance of 300 yards from the church where the figures appeared.
It appeared to me to be a large globe of golden light. I never saw, I thought, so brilliant a light before. It appeared high up in the air above and around the chapel gable, and it was circular in its appearance.
I saw the figures plainly. I put out my hand and thought to touch them. They looked so solid, and I found nothing. I rushed back home and called my mother, my brother, my sister, and my niece.
I was staying at my grandmother's house. I followed my auntie and my uncle to the chapel.
My cousin Dominic Byrne came to see us at about 8 o'clock p.m. I went with him. When I reached the south side of the chapel, we saw the image of the Blessed Virgin Mary having her hands uplifted.
I saw the likeness of the Blessed Virgin and Saint Joseph and Saint John.
The night was dark and raining, and yet these images appeared with bright lights as plain as under the noonday sun.
An apparition is a supernatural manifestation where, I suppose, heaven and earth meet in a very unusual situation. You can have an apparition of simply Our Lady, like in Fatima or Lourdes, or here in Knock. It incorporates St. Joseph, St. John the Evangelist, the altar, the Lamb and the cross, angels and all of that. So it's quite an intricate apparition. You can't tell on where an apparition is going to be. There's no sort of typical place. Although with the history of apparitions, it's usually in a place that is, forgive the saying, in the middle of nowhere. Knock is located in the west of Ireland, in the middle of County Mayo. A small little village of about 2,000 people or so. A typical rural parish, if you like, except with the extraordinary thing of having a national and an international Marian shrine attached to it.
I had a school group recently and I asked them, why would you come to Knock on your school tour? And this little girl, she was about 8 or 9, put up her hand and she said, because Mary showed up. And you know, that's exactly what an apparition is. I couldn't have explained it better myself. Every single person who comes to Knock comes for their own special reason. Some people come to go to Mass and confessions. Other people come just to have a stroll around the beautiful grounds. But what's common to all of those people is that they're taking a little bit of time out for quietness, prayer, a little bit of time for reflection.
I certainly get a sense here of the other, of something transcendent, of something metaphysical, of something beyond this notion that there is something more than your very self. In terms of our faith, we say that that is God. in 1879, almost immediately after the apparition itself. There was a build-up of visitors and pilgrims to the shrine, so it became fairly widely known very, very quickly. It was reported in numerous newspapers, including national papers and also British papers that referred to strange occurrences in a small Irish village, and also spoke about miraculous cures, mentioned that it was like the Irish Lourdes. A little bit extravagant in their description, I think, at the time, because it was nothing like Lourdes. But they were trying to get across that something bizarre, unusual, unexpected, and wholly out of this world, even literally, occurred in this small, tiny, little, out-of-the-way place in the west of Ireland.
The village of Knock itself, it has that aura. When you come into the place, you see religion all around you. But we still live ordinary lives. We love our drink, we like socialising. The people that live here are no different than anybody else. Maybe one or two are, but no, 99% of the people that live in Knock are just ordinary people that enjoy life and get on with it. When the scandals hit, that had an awful effect, and it was kind of one thing after another, and that did hit Knock. It did, of course it hit Knock. It hit the pilgrims coming to Knock. They dropped off dramatically.
Right throughout the scandals, there was a fear that people might just simply stop coming and feel that this is not the place for them to be associated or to come to, because of the fact that it's part of the life of the church. Like, we had to come to terms with that too. We had to take all that on board and say, well, what's going on? What's happening here? And what does that mean for my own personal faith? If the church is to be renewed in Ireland, Knock should play its part and its role in that. We feel that Knock has something to offer. And if we feel that, and if we work towards that, then I would expect the numbers to climb.
Someday we would hope it would be like Lourdes. I don't know, will we ever get the same amount of pilgrims coming here? We have the airport, so eventually we would love to see the airport being used for pilgrims as well as for the people that live in the vicinity.
You'd hear people talking about the history of Knock. Myself and Tommy is part of that history, which is a great honour and a great privilege. We have worked under Monsignor Horan, Monsignor Greeley, Monsignor Quinn, and now we have Father Gibbons.
Father Horan and our present parish priest, Father Richard Gibbons, would be similar in character. Both of them saw no problem in doing anything. They never saw any obstacles in front of what they want to do. And Father Horan's motto was always, there's no such thing as it can't be done.
It wouldn't have been my first choice. When the Archbishop said that I was coming here, it wasn't really something I was jumping around the room sort of saying, great. Knock is a different place to work as a priest. It's a very demanding place. You have to get in it. You have to acclimatise to the place. Now I love Knock. I just see the potential for Knock. It has far more of a potential than people possibly even realise in terms of the spiritual lives of people in the country. Far more.
Okay, is this on? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you? Sorry, hello, sorry. Excuse me, can I ask you to take your seats, please? Thanks very much indeed. You're all very welcome. Welcome to one and all this morning to Knock House Hotel here at Knock Shrine. This is a very special day for, I suppose, what I might call a sacred trinity, if you like. The National Marian Shrine here at Knock, Ireland West Airport Knock, and also the Archdiocese of New York. This sacred trinity, if you like, has been called into being
to explore the possibility of inviting to the shrine one of the most important dioceses in the United States from one of the most important cities in the world. So I am delighted to announce the first official diocesan pilgrimage from the Archdiocese of New York to Knock Shrine through Knock Airport. And last but not least, His Eminence Cardinal Timothy Dolan, the Archbishop of New York. We're going to just hear the Cardinal now in relation to this.
Am I ever excited to greet all of you? I greet you.
He doesn't speak like that normally.
All of you, I understand you're gathered to.
You better start from the top again, yes.
Hi, everybody. Cardinal Timothy Dolan here. And am I ever excited to greet all of you? I understand you're gathered today at the great shrine of Knock for the launch of the first official pilgrimage from the Archdiocese of New York here at home to Ireland's National Marian Shrine. What a wonderful opportunity to reconnect spiritually with the land of so many of Irish descent living here in New York. Is it ever going to be a joy to meet all of you next August? All right? See you there. Shlong.
It's about trying to increase our numbers naturally, because we want to see the shrine to flourish. It's the point of the shrine. The point of our airport was to bring in pilgrims. We haven't really engaged to a huge extent with our diaspora, believe it or not. That's where our people are. Cardinal Dolan, not only is he Archbishop of New York, but also he knows Knock very well. We felt, kind of maybe a little thing, and I don't take this the wrong way, if you make it there, you'll make it anywhere. If New York can do it, maybe that might be an impetus for other places in the United States to do so as well. But also, he's a charismatic figure, and he draws people. He's that affinity and empathy with people that they automatically love him.
Because the faith of Ireland has been such a big part of the heritage of the Archdiocese of New York, it's kind of natural that we'd say, you know what? We ought to make Knock a particularly attractive goal for pilgrimages, and I'm glad we're doing it. We hope to be able to have about 150 people. They can expect a good time. I like to have a good time, and Ireland's a great place to have that. They can expect some good prayer. They can expect some good catechesis. They can expect some good company. We all like to go home to our mother. I do. There's unconditional love. There's tenderness. She knows what foods I like, see? So you always feel at home, especially with your mother. And that's how Marian shrines are. That's how Knock is. And that's why I think people enjoy doing it.
Well done, guys. Let's give them a round of applause just to make them go away, if nothing else.
It's a dual role as parish priest of Knock, because you have two hats, if you like. You're a parish priest of a country parish, okay, and all that entails. Baptisms, weddings, funerals. And secondly, you are rector of the National Marian Shrine. So you have a bigger vision to take into account than just normal parish work. It's a duality, and that's specifically because the apparition occurred at the parish church. I have these conversations with even my own colleagues at times. Like, what's the point? You know, why an apparition? Why does God and heaven want to communicate in these ways? Why not just get it over with once and for all and appear to everybody at the same time and just let that be it? I simply don't know.
Patrick Welch was my great-grandfather. He had been haymaking in the hayfield that was closest to Knock. When they had the hay secured, they came home for a bit to eat, and it turned wet, as can often happen in the West. He went back to get the tools, and when he got to the field, that's when he saw this huge light that was so unusual at the time. And he thought actually the church must be on fire. You're always thinking of a natural explanation, and he knew of no light, only a fire that would be as bright as it. He went to Knock the next morning, and that's when he heard that it was the vision. This is the field where Patrick Welch saw the vision on the night of the 21st of August, 1879. There were no obstacles at that time. There were no bushes, no basilica, and he more or less had to see it from here. Why did he go back to field at that time? Can't answer that question, but it's fate, I suppose, and faith got him there. You can't believe that there isn't something there. If he was your great-grandfather saying he said he seen this supernatural light, you have that connection with it in, so that makes it easier for you to believe it.
You can't force people to believe, you can't force people to accept. But if you're seen to be at least genuine, if you're seen to be consistent, if you're seen to be open, if you're seen to be ready to engage, then people will engage with you. Engagement, joyfulness, smile on your face. All of these images, they're hugely, hugely important. That might have an effect on bringing people back in.
Good morning, everybody. You're very welcome to Knock Shrine. My name is Anne-Marie, and I'm your tour guide here this morning. We'll start walking.
I actually love telling people the story of the apparition, because people come here, they don't know the story, they haven't heard of it. They may have heard of Knock in passing, they may have heard of it, they're on their journey with a tour company, and they see Knock, and they think Knock, K-N-O-C-K, Knock, what is this place, what has happened here?
Okay, everybody, we're going to make our way to the site of the apparition. So if you can follow me, please. Thank you.
I have been working at Knock for 33 years. It's a lifetime.
The apparition took place on the 21st of August, 1879. You can well imagine that Knock did not look anything like this over 100 years ago. There was one parish church here, and that parish church is located behind the new apparition chapel, because the actual apparition took place right here where those white marble statues are.
There is something that holds you here. Even though many times I thought I would leave, something turns me around and something says, no, this is the place. I feel that I'm using my gifts and talents to the best of my ability here.
So you see, right up here on our left-hand side is St. Joseph, and this is the husband of Mary. Next to Mary is St. John the Evangelist, and then right in the middle, standing on the altar, there is a lamb, and directly behind the lamb, there is a tall, empty cross.
We're working almost for Mary, so we feel we have a special place in her heart. I'm sure that's not true because we're all special, everybody's the same, but you know, human nature is what it is, and we feel we're on the inside circle.
This apparition then lasted for 2 hours. For the whole 2 hours, Mary never spoke. Is this strange? I'm not sure.
If somebody comes in to say that they have seen something, you don't automatically say, well, that's great, let's go out and believe in this now. That's not the way it works. Even in those days, even with Lourdes and Fatima, that took a lot of time. The church is very skeptical immediately, which is a good thing, because you need to be very, very sure of this before you say something supernatural has happened. It's like a detective investigation. You bring in witnesses. What did you see? How did you see it? This was to ordinary people who would not have been theologically literate, maybe basically literate in the time, but even if you were to make it up, you would not make it up in such a sophisticated way because they would not have the capability of doing that.
They couldn't have made up a story like that. There was too many of them that seen what they seen, and they went through rigorous interrogations over the years because of it.
Each person, each individual that witnessed the apparition were brought in day after day, questioned and questioned and questioned. And that spoke the whole truth. I don't think it was the truth. Mary Ben was my grandmother. We were always with her. And when she was, well, come on, where are ye? Come on, we're going to Knock. You think Knock was miles away. She told us was all, we were kids. Years after, of course. She told the whole story. And we enjoyed listening to it every time. It's a great story. Wonderful, wonderful thing to happen in a small village. We loved her. Absolutely. We loved her. We loved her, absolutely. She was lying in the bed. She was lying in the bed, she was dying. And the priest was there, and archdeacons, and bishop. And I said, Mary, tell us the truth now. And you're on your deathbed. Tell us the truth now. Did you witness the apparition of Knock? Did you see the Blessed Virgin Mary, St. Joseph, St. John? I'm going to my God, she said, in a few weeks' time. And I'm sure as I'm lying in this bed this minute, at this very minute, I witnessed that apparition. And at the very moment I opened my eyes now, she said, and I looked out at the end of the bed, and I can still see the figures at the end of the bed.
In 1936, Mary Byrne died, and decades later, her son, James, was buried with her. The grave diggers, when they were digging his grave, they hit the side of the coffin, and they discovered that her body was full intact, hair, clothes, the lot. Monsignor Horn went to the family and asked them if they could exhume the body, and they wouldn't allow it. Those generations, they always thought once you bury your dead, you bury them and you don't disturb them. Well, sure, she was a saint. We know the body decays after a certain length of time. They always say anybody that's left intact is a saint, like Padre Pio or any of these popes that you see in the Vatican. They're all meant to be saints because they're still intact.
The Feast of the Assumption. It's a very, very big day here at Knock. It's one of the bigger days that we have here. The first Mass takes place at 6 a.m. in the parish church. The church is usually full with people who have walked or cycled or come in car, but the tradition is that a lot of people walk to the church at that hour of the morning. People walking in their bare feet goes back a very long time. It has to do with sacrifice. It has to do with, you know, no pain, no gain kind of thing.
The walk was hard. It took me 5.5 hours. Very hard. I did it for my cousin Jonathan. He died there about a month and a half ago. He was only 16 years of age when he drowned, so walked for him.
It shows that means a lot.
Take the pain.
You're taking the pain, like, for someone, like.
I walked 21 miles from Ballyhadreen to Knock.
8.5 hours.
8.5 hours took in the dark, and when I was just heading into Knock, I'd start getting bright, like. I just pray, like, and think of him in memories, like.
That's all we have is memories. Oh. So usual.
That's just how it is. It has to be done.
Well, that's our religion. Follow it. Keep it going, keep it lit. It's life in the outdoor get.
Keep the fire burning.
There's no tourist office here in Knock at all. There was one, but there's none now. We're missionaries, we're evangelizing, and we're trying to help as many people who come to Knock as possible. Because without a tourist office, there's no place to go, really. Some people come in here and, you know, complete strangers from other countries. They could be from America, Japan, China, Africa. They might look for a hotel, or they might want something. We give them some of the leaflets that's given out by the Tourist Board. We have lots of them there. For example, that's the book we have on purgatory. And you know, you need to be sitting down when you're reading that book. But that will tell you about purgatory. But it's interesting, and it just gets you to get your life in order. Would you believe that Our Lady has appeared to a visionary in another country and disclosed why she came to Knock? The gist of it is that the devil is loose in the world and we must stand up to him and fight him. It is very profound and very interesting for the time we're living in, because we're living in very strange times, as you know. Even in this country, we are going from one disaster to the other. Now they're talking about abortion, the 8th Amendment. If that happens, it will just open up the floodgates and this country will suffer. This rosary, it's a teardrop, and inside the teardrop is a little baby. It's for the time we're living in, it's against abortion. So we promote this rosary here because every time you pray Hail Mary on this rosary with love in your heart, you save a baby from abortion. Married couples who pray for babies nobody wants, if they're childless, they start families. When people come into Holy Love Centre here in Knock, you know, some people are very sceptical. They just come in and look, and then they might say, we're all saved. But we're not all saved, because there is a heaven, hell, and purgatory. And they might even say, tell me, I don't believe in hell. And I will say to them, look, hell is real, it's hot, and if you get there, you'll never get out. The Catholic religion is the true religion because we have the miracles to prove it.
Confessions really is our engine room. It's where most of the work and the miracles happen here in Knock. It is estimated 4,000 people per week go to confessions. That's taken on average right throughout the year. We've up to 50 confessionals in a specifically purpose-built confessional. Obviously, we need priests to come and hear confessions, so we invite retired priests who might have come home from missions and student priests from the continent. And they come here, stay with us for maybe a week, a month, up to a year, or maybe indeed several years.
So good morning to you.
Good morning, Father Thomas. We have you in room 32.
Confession, it's not about making a list of whatever I have done wrong and kind of repay for that. It's about also have a different insight into your life. Sometimes the Catholic Church is being accused of keeping people in guilt. My idea, my understanding is the very opposite. From the very first confession, I was amazed that you actually love the people more than before, having been witness to their weakness, and that has been the same since. What a wonderful thing forgiveness is. You cannot do anything about the past, and yet there is the possibility of forgiveness, which is a way of healing the wounds of the past. So they actually are not lost. So usually they're not even forgotten, but they become part of your sacred story.
My husband passed away 4 years ago, and about a week or 10 days before he passed away, we came to Knock, and we had a lovely day together. It was a really, really nice day. And so every year I come back in his memory. He had cancer, and we planned to go on a specific day, and he wasn't really that well, so I said we'd leave it and we'd go another time, you know. But he said no, he wanted to go. It was a lovely sunny day, peaceful, we had a laugh. And 10 days after that, he passed away. So. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to die so soon, but when he did go, at least I felt he had this day here, you know. He got his wish anyway, and that made me feel happy for him. A lot of tough things happened in my life, you know. My son died 2 years before my husband. And, you know, I would have felt, is there a God even, you know? And the same after my husband dying, you know, it's just, you'd feel, is there a God there, you know? But you have to believe in something. I do actually get peace here. So That's why I keep coming back.
You might be in a rush going somewhere, you might be walking somewhere, or whatever the case may be, or even running as it happens from time to time. But if somebody comes up to you, you have to make yourself available to that person at that present moment, at that particular time, because that might be the most important moment that that person will have on that particular day.
Sure.
This might be their only day out. This might be a huge thing for them to come to Knock. They may never have been at a shrine for the last 10, 20, 30 years. They may have never, and I've met people that have gone to confession that have been away for about 20, 25 years. And you have to enter that moment with them. We might have that on an individual day, on each successive day, but for them, it's that special encounter, that moment. And you enter into that with them.
The handmaids are women, married women, single women, widows, and they were founded by Dame Judy Coyne in 1935. Mrs. Coyne was in Lourdes with her husband in 1929, and she'd seen how the sick were looked after there, how they had helpers, and there was nothing like that here in Knock. So she travelled Ireland, went into the parishes to recruit suitable men and women that would be willing to give a day a month here at the shrine. Then you see Mrs. Coyne died, and before she died, she appointed me as her successor. I felt it was a calling to direct them spiritually, to try and instill in them the need to be modest in their behavior because of the way things are today in the world. People now cohabiting, they are living outside of the sacrament of marriage. That is against the commandments. People have gone away from living the commandments in Ireland. They've gone away from God and from Our Lady and the rosary in their homes. And I don't care what they will do or look for. If they don't come back to that, they won't be happy and they won't find peace.
It began for me 17 years ago. And a lady just down the road, she was a handmaid in Knock, and she said to me, "Mildred, would you ever think about coming to Knock to be a handmaid?" And I said, "What?" Now, I would go to Knock quite regular, and I would see them, but it never dawned on me to be one of them, because I thought you'd have to be extra special to be one of those. So I came, and the first day, the first job I got was buttering bread. And I said, well, this is not kind of what I came. But then I thought, you're here, so this is your job. Do what you're told. Even if I never went to Knock, I would always know that Our Lady was with me all the time. And then to go to Knock, and then to get working in Knock, was like out of this world. I love it. No matter how I'm feeling, or no matter how maybe down I might be myself, that uniform is on there to help people that day. I think we should get more of a say in Knock, and definitely more of a presence in it. It's always the men out there, and the men, and the men, and then the priests, and then the handmaids. Why does it always have to be the two men in front holding the lanterns? Why can't we have two handmaids holding the lantern? We're well able to hold the lantern, you know. Well able. What would be wrong with the two handmaids right out in front, holding the lanterns? I don't think there would be anything. To say that you would be head of the church or head of even the parish, not at all. No, it'll take a long time for that to change. And I think it's women's own fault that doesn't stand up and say, look, I'm well able to do this. The sooner our handmaids get in that frame of mind, the better it will be for Knock and the better it will be for the handmaids.
My grandfather was one of the visionaries that saw the apparition. A lot of people know me. They know that I am a grandson of one of the visionaries to come in. It's maybe at times I promoted a bit for sales sake as well. My father built the original shop, which is right beside the church gate. Monsignor Horn, before the Pope came to Knock, he wanted to upgrade the village. So he asked my father, would he build shops? He had 8 children, and each of us were going to get a plot, and we all had to build our own shops. Naturally enough, there is a little bit of rivalry. You're very conscious that they are your brother and your sister, and you bite your tongue. There's no point in saying you don't. You bite, and because you might have a thing and say, "Oh, that's grand, I have this," and the next thing your brother or sister might have it, and you say, "Oh God, I thought I had that for the shop alone." 80% of the customers that would come into the shop would be Irish. I would love to say 80% bought something when they came into the shop. No, they don't. Very, very few. Pope Francis is very popular at the moment, where his predecessor wasn't that popular. Hopefully he's going to come in 2018. It would be nice. It would be a great boost for the place as well, like, you know, to promote the shrine, because it was brilliant after the Pope John Paul came. The publicity that gave here was unreal. What guides us in buying our religious goods would come from experience, from years of experience. A lot of our big sellers would be statues. Now you have a huge variety of statues. Different sizes, as you can see around the shop. We kind of specialize in statues. So they vary in different sizes. You'll have the popular ones, like you'd have Our Lady of Knock. But the Child of Prague, again, is always very popular. Usually bought for people going into a new house. They had this tradition, whole Irish tradition, that if you put the statue of the Child of Prague in your garden before you got married, you'd have a fine day for the wedding day. You have another one, St. Anthony, which we all know. It's again tradition, St. Anthony. It's if you lose something, even with myself, if I've lost something, I say, "Oh, St. Anthony, look at." I'll give you like a 50p, find it for me. And nearly instantly, it's kind of there in your face looking at you. St. Joseph was buried in the garden, upside down, in the garden, small little statue that if you wanted to sell your house. Oh yeah, we're coming here to holy water bottles. Holy water bottles would be massive. Everybody that comes to Knock wants holy water. To go to the taps, the holy water, a full wall of fountains. And there's big containers, huge containers in the basilica. And that's where the holy water is stored. And I would like to get this point across because there is a bit of talk lately about that the holy water in Knock is not blessed. It is blessed.
This water will be used to remind us of our baptism. Let us ask God to bless it and to keep us and all who bring it from Knock faithful to the Spirit that He has given us. We ask you now to bless this water and to give us and all who use this holy water your protection which you have made your own. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. What's happening in Knock is always about building for the future. The place needs to look an awful lot better than it does. But there is a plan in place. We did a huge survey from everybody. Pilgrims, parishioners, visitors, priests, bishops, everybody. And what they said was, for God's sake, do something with the basilica. It was built by Monsignor Horn simply as a place to get people in out of the inclement weather, out of the rain. But we need to up our game here. We need to modernise. We need to meet the needs of people who have a much more discerning expectation in terms of what comfort and warmth and all of that mean. We're firing on all cylinders, and we need people to help us to fund all of this. Because I don't have any investments. I don't have anything for a rainy day, nothing like that, but we need to do something. When I speak to people about helping us, I tell them that we know what we're doing, we know how to do it, and we simply ask them to help us to see that into a reality. And a reality it will become, because it has become a reality.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
The pilgrimage matters to Knock for a number of reasons, primarily because it opens up Knock to an international stage. And it shows that we can do it. It shows that we can welcome people into Knock Airport. They can come directly here. They can access the shrine. And by accessing the shrine in the west, they can access the rest of the country.
This is our first transatlantic flight with pilgrims directly from New York. This airport was built for pilgrim flights and for US flights, so we're well able to cope with all, and we're delighted we had it here, even if it was an hour and a half early.
It's an historic step along the line for the airport and for the shrine itself. It's important to establish the nature of Knock itself, what it means to people of Irish descent, especially in the United States.
I did it for you. How are you? Nice to meet you. Appreciate your hospitality. We're delighted to have you.
It shows that we have capacity to bring in big aircraft, capacity for pilgrims to come and visit Knock. It's a great tourist attraction, as we know, so we have the whole package. We just want more flights from America. The more the merrier.
There is no reason why Knock cannot stand on the pedestal of the great Marian shrines of the world, like Lourdes or Fatima or wherever. So this day in Knock Airport in Ireland is one of exceptional importance. And I feel in a world that's changing so rapidly, with an institution like the church, which has gone through and is going through some very turbulent times. And I pray in my own way that those who have that sense of belief and conviction, that when they travel here and land here at Knock, that they will enjoy a deep sense of spiritual comfort by visiting the shrine.
There they go, Taoiseach. Thanks be to God. Lord, it is good that we are here. Taoiseach, it means a lot to us that you're here. Thank you very much. I want to make sure, do my pilgrims, the 150 of us that came from New York, you know who the Taoiseach is? He's the Prime Minister of Ireland. It would be like President Obama or Donald Trump going to the airport. Taoiseach, I've had the honor of welcoming you to my house, and to have you here today to welcome us means a lot, and you've done a lot for us. There's only one more thing you can do for us, okay? Could you open that bar before we... This is historic. This is the first, but let's pray, not the last, transatlantic pilgrimage from New York to Knock. This is historic, but let's make it ordinary, okay? Thank you.
It really was to show, I suppose, between ourselves and the airport that Monsignor Horan's vision of having Knock Airport work as a pilgrimage airport, and also to open up the shrine here to international pilgrimages, can be done. That simply can be done.
Hello, Ruth. Leona here from the Knock Marriage Introductions. How are you today?
Knock Marriage Bureau was founded in 1968 by Father Michael Kane of the Archdiocese of Tuam.
I have a gentleman here by the name of John, and he's from County Sligo.
He realised that there was an awful lot of immigration in the country in 1968, and the result is most of the men were gone. So he started Knock Marriage Bureau so that the women might have a chance of meeting somebody. And since that, we have had about 1,000 weddings.
I have a lady here. She's from County Donegal. She's 40, 5'2", third level. She's a teacher.
Leona would take one box of files, and I would take the other. I have a fellow here from Sligo.
No, Donegal he's from. And what age is he?
He's 38.
Well, he's no good. If she's 40.
Oh, no. Now, age would be very important. Men tend to wait until their 50s to look for a wife. And then they want somebody of 35, somebody who will bear children for them. And at that stage, they begin to think of the succession and the farm and all that kind of thing. What age is she?
5'2".
5'2". I have a fellow here from Donegal that's 6'5".
Oh, no, he's too tall, for God's sake. Can you imagine she'd be looking up at him?
Height, believe it or not, would be very important as well, because you can't have the woman taller than the man. I know, but it's better than she looking down at him. And you have to factor in heels, you know, when you're matching.
Show me what that guy looked like, Jake. Let's see. Show me.
He's not bad looking. And the background is very nice. With all the trees.
Okay. We used to send out the picture to the guy and the picture of the guy to the lady. And one particular time I sent out a picture to a guy and the girl had blonde hair. But when she went to meet him, she had dark hair. And it was a no-no.
He rang us up and he was very angry. He said, you know, that isn't the one that you sent me.
I said, why'd you say that? She had dark hair. Well, I said, she's blonde hair in her photo. But I said, girls colour their hair all the time. So after that, we didn't send out photos. No, I wouldn't really put those two together.
They're the best we have at the moment.
No, we have another guy there. I know there's another guy there.
You seem to know everything that's in my section here.
I do, of course I do.
Oh, we disagree quite often, actually.
No, they haven't enough in common.
Have they not?
No, hers are dancing, swimming, reading.
Yeah.
So no, I'll try again. But overall, we get on really well.
Most of our women have third-level education. They would have PhDs and everything. And most of our men are farmers. And sometimes it can be hard to match them.
And our interests are cycling, dancing, walking, and reading. Yeah, that'd be okay.
Well, he is walking.
See what he looks like.
I know very little about the modern dating world, except what the applicants tell us. And they all tell us that we are more personal.
Yeah, I think that should be okay. Sure, we won't know when we make the phone call.
You won't know. So put them together, anyhow.
Okay. Do you know something, Joe? You can be very difficult.
That's what it's all about. Oh, it was completely different to my work as a priest because you're dealing with people's lives, you know. It is a very responsible position. And I must say I enjoyed the responsibility of it.
So is it okay if I give you her phone number? Oh, okay. She's a teacher. Slim build, dark hair, blue eyes.
The role of parish priest and rector of Knock is I have to get out of Knock and I have to go and encourage people to come. Very, very good to take time out to... Getting in a room with Bear Walsh, I suppose, is actually relatively easy because of the fact that his parents came from the west of Ireland. He speaks Irish himself and he has a very, very deep connection with the shrine.
Probably my earliest memories of Knock is going to Knock Shrine with my grandmother and my mother and just being there all day long. Praying, and I was a kid at the time, so like, you know, when you're a kid, praying all day is a long time.
How's your mum, by the way?
She's good. She might come. She's not sure yet she's coming because she was going to go over a little later in the year.
In 1974, I came down with cancer, and one of the things that my mother always said that if I was cured, that she would take me to Knock to go to Knock Shrine. And we had a lot of holy water sent from Knock Shrine, a lot of rosary beads sent from Knock into our house in Boston. It's still there today. So when I went back as my first trip as mayor of the city, Knock was a very special stop for me.
We're ready for you. We've everything set up. all of Knock is anticipating yourself and the Cardinal.
It's going to be a great trip, and it's going to be great for Catholics. There was a period in time that that faith, it never disappeared, but I think for a lot of people got separated from the church. And I think Knock Shrine has an opportunity to kind of bring people together and to renew that faith in so many people.
I see, the hand of God at work in an awful lot of things. These little connections, they're meant for a reason. The stakes for Knock are quite high. The American pilgrimages will play a key role in the future. For Knock to grow, this has to happen. I'm convinced of that. Do miracles happen? Yes, they do. Do I believe they happen? Yes, I do. I believe in them. People would come to Knock, or maybe Fatima Lourdes, or any shrine really, if they're in a very desperate situation that they would hope for physical healing. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Good evening, Knock House Hotel. Yes. The Marion Carol weekend is that weekend. It usually fills the hotel. The price would be €125 per person, and a single room would be €140.
Good evening, everyone. It's lovely to be here with you. What I'm about to share with you is what the Lord has done in my life. From 1972 up to 1978, I went through one of the worst parts of my life. In 1978, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was completely paralyzed. I was doubly incontinent. I couldn't see right, I couldn't talk right, I couldn't eat right, and I had epilepsy. Knock was planned for the 3rd of September 1989. That Sunday morning, Jimmy got me ready and they strapped me into the stretcher. Eventually, they brought me over to the Basilica at Knock. They put me right in front of the statue of Our Lady of Knock that they use in the procession. And I realised something, this is where I wanted to be. When I looked up at that statue of Our Lady of Knock, I thought it was the most beautiful, most friendliest statue that I ever seen in my life. I felt she was just there to greet me and no one else. And I said to her, well, you're a mother too. You know how I feel. I received Holy Communion from my bishop. And after I received Holy Communion, I got a very bad pain in both of my heels, which is very unusual. That pain went, and when that pain went, every pain in my body went with it. I got this beautiful feeling, a magnificent feeling, and like a whispery breeze telling me that if the stretcher was open, that I could get up and walk. My two legs swung out and I stood up straight. I wasn't even a bit stiff after all them years. But they were getting a bit excited, and I got round Jerry Glynn to bring me home. And Jimmy came out the front door with the wheelchair, and he said, well, Mar, how was Knock? I said, it was all right, Jim. Why would anybody bother going down there? He didn't realise I was walking. I'll never forget the next part as long as I live. One went into our home, went into the sitting room, and Jimmy sat down over the patio doors, and the wheelchair was in the centre of the room. And I stood up and said, look, Jim, I can walk. And Jimmy said, oh no, Mar, don't. And I went over and I put my arms around him. I've never seen a man crying like him. And he got down on his knees and he started thanking the Lord. I've never looked back physically since that day, or spiritually. And going on 26 years on now. So
we've got a great mother and a great father there in heaven. Sadly, our daughter has multiple sclerosis now, but she has 3 children. She's married, but Cora is lucky because, thanks be to God, they had the MRI and they could see the plaques straight away. And that was such a relief because what I went through and others like myself, it was tough. People said to her, would you not go to Knock and for a cure like your mother and that? But Cora knows it's up to the Lord and she trusts him. The Lord knows what's best. And we'd never ask for a cure for any of our family now because he has done so much for us.
Is it officially a cure? Is it, someone says it's a miracle?
You have to go to certain stages through through different years, and you have to collect all your medical data. And we have done that now, and if it's passed, it'll be the first official miracle in the history of Ireland.
I certainly have no difficulty with people wanting, if they want to claim they've had a miracle cure and not, that's fine. We have absolutely no difficulty with that at all, so it is. But we still have to apply scientific medical criterion. It must fulfill certain medical scientific criteria. The main one is that the healing the person has had is not explicable by modern science at the moment. Now you can imagine with modern medical training, nothing seems impossible or inexplicable, but there are things that happen which are inexplicable. Marianne's case has proved a bit more difficult than what we originally anticipated. The diagnosis proved difficult. I won't say it's relatively easy, but it's relatively easy compared to what it was, say, 25, 30 years ago, to establish a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. That really is the crux with Marianne. The diagnosis was never fully established. Several of the doctors and specialists involved really don't want to be involved with this case, and that makes it very difficult for us. But I have had 2 consultant physicians who did look over the notes and the records of Marianne, and who did say that what happened to her was inexplicable. But still, we've still some way to go yet on that. Okay, thank you. I would hate to be labelled a miraculous. That imposes an enormous burden on people. I believe God is all around us, and but to specifically pick an individual out, I think that's incredibly difficult to understand. So it is. So I don't. I try not to go there. I would hate the term they applied to me.
I was diagnosed with MS 2 years ago. It hasn't plateaued or got any better, it's just got progressively worse. But I just kind of put it to the back of my mind and I was telling myself, it's not happening, it's not happening, it's not happening. But the body is saying otherwise. So it's like, I'm only 43. I don't want this to be happening. I want to be at least able-bodied, or I want it to stay the same as it is for a while, not to decline so quickly. I would be open-minded to anything that would help stop this happening, even slow it down. Yeah, so any help, any hope, or any good feeling that would come out of it, you know, even a sense of peace with what's happening, I think is a miracle in itself. I would have more belief in Our Lady than I would have God, because she's appeared, you know, she has shown herself, whereas I would blame God for what's happened to me. It was like, why me? why would God do this to me? Do you know what I mean? What did I do that I would be handed this? Growing up in Ireland, your faith was a huge part. But then as our generation got older, we started to question things that might be very questionable in a sense. And then it came to the stage where the scandals with the priests and the nuns, and then I just cut off all faith. It's like, how could you have faith in people that have done the likes of that to women and children who are innocent, do you know what I mean? And then I didn't have any faith after that. I didn't give prayer or miracles or anything like that a second thought when I was able-bodied. I didn't think about it. It didn't dawn on me. I didn't really have a faith. So in one sense, I feel like a bit of a hypocrite. But it's like it's just given me a little bit of hope that things might get better or something could happen to make me feel better.
Some go to Mass and some don't, and you can't force them. They have their own beliefs. The church ruled too much in the older days, and it had to change, and it's only right. We had women in this country that had to go to England to have their babies. It was so wrong. Like, people were afraid of the church. They ruled that much. And we have gay marriages now, and that's fine. Times have changed. We have to move on.
Well, I suppose young people in general aren't as interested in the church as we were. The generations past, they always managed to pass it on. So we wouldn't like to be the first generation that would fail to do that.
We pray for all gathered here who are awaiting the arrival of a new baby. May they all be blessed with good health and a safe delivery when their time comes. We pray for all those who are struggling and whom the news of their pregnancy brought fear or worry. May they feel loved and supported by their family and friends at all times. We place all those who have asked a special blessing this day.
Today is the day of the final piece of a major refurbishment of our basilica. We're very excited about it. It has taken maybe just over a year to complete the whole project. The overall cost, it is 11.4 million euro. I wish I could get loans, or I wish I could get contributions from the state and all the rest of it, but that's not possible. So what we have to go on is simply, as always here in Knock, the generosity of the people of God. That's what built the Basilica in '76, that's what built the airport, and that's what we're dependent on. And I hope it continues. The curtain is simply to give a sense of drama to the occasion. Hopefully everything going well, the curtain will drop and we will have the calling forward of representatives of each of the witnesses of the apparition itself. As we gather here in this basilica, we remember in a special way the 15 official witnesses who stood at the gable 137 years ago. Mary McLaughlin, 45 years old. Patrick Byrne, 16. Judith Campbell, 22 years old. Dominic Byrne Jr., 18. Patrick Walsh, 65 years old. Bridget Trench, 74 years old. Mary Byrne, 29 years old. John Durkin, 24 years old. Catherine Murray, 8 years of age. Margaret Byrne Sr., 68 years old. Mrs. Hugh Flatley, 44 years old. Patrick Hill, 11 years old. Dominic Byrne Sr., 36 years old. Margaret Byrne, 21 years old. Little John Curry, 5 years old.
The 15 witnesses basically formed Knock. This is why Knock exists.
It is an extraordinary story, but we have to believe it because they were our ancestors.
In 1879, Knock was more or less typical for any village in the west of Ireland and the country at the time, which was reeling and suffering from evictions, from land war, and also from agrarian violence. A whole series of political uncertainty at the time in relation to how people simply put food on the table, literally a roof over their heads, and were frightened of losing their very homes. Also at that time, there were many famines occurring. People literally didn't have enough to eat.
People suffered. They died with starvation for a start. The blood famine came along then. I killed half the people. They died by the roadside, died all over the blood famine. It's a real famine. Sight, really. A real famine sight.
It seems to be the case in other parts of the world as well, that at times of crisis that unusual things happen. Knock will always be here because of that special event that happened in 1879.
There were plenty of times in the last 140 years that people could have doubted and could have stopped coming to Knock. There were hard times and there was good times, but through the hard times and the good times, the people have kept turning up.
A lot of Irish people go to Lourdes and they have never been to Knock, and it's a shame, because a lot of people that do come to Knock, they feel the tranquility here and the peacefulness, and this is why they love coming back time and time again. Hopefully we would keep it alive to the world, and that Knock will still be here in the next 100 years.
We're not the last bastion of Catholicism left on the island, and have no intention of being. The Custer's last stand kind of stuff, that doesn't cut it. Like, that's not even there. There are kind of engagements with modern Irish society. There are debates to be had. But these are debates, and we won't be found wanting in those debates. I don't see us retreating just to here. We don't intend to put up the drawbridge just yet, or any time at all.
The Lord trim nail me scoros a trailog le shalomly gusgarawa sing lawan Kashawan emenor skoros egeriocht legrom chri Gorev na compui gaul agus squelach agus cli tegera iguashlantiel breve varigis ara lechelem gmechlan aniv anish lefoil gan